Attention, please.
And now, it's Cutter's Rockcast.
You know who looks like Hans Gruber? That's what you fucking Hans Gruber. Oh, man. Hans Gruber.
Ain't gonna lie, my favorite character in the movie, though. So.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I can see that.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Motherfucker.
Motherfucker.
Better than what's his face?
Should I call you
from,
cowboy?
What boy band was it?
Saw one
Joey
Fatone.
Fatone.
Yeah.
Or John Lennon, that's the other one.
John Lennon.
Lennon.
I can
John
see
Lennon.
that.
And I'll take that. That's a compliment all day long. It's John Lennon, man.
Hey man, you look just. Hey Cutter,
Come on,
you.
man.
Hey,
McLean.
take two.
That's a great bad guy,
Interview
though.
starts. Take two. Hey man, just by the way, I just want to let you know, man, you look kind of like John Lennon, like the young, attractive John Lennon.
I really appreciate that.
No problem. Cutter.
Hey, is this Yoko?
No. I didn't fuck nothing up. I came in and made it stronger, not weaker.
We are of course.
I mean, I make weird music.
Yeah.
Drop that curtain, too. Made a little bit demanding there halfway. Well, I'm getting up. I want to be
glare.
Yeah, it's getting.
He's like, it's gotta
Drop
be
that
pretty.
curtain, too. Let's make it all sexy up in
We're
here.
getting
Oh,
Our director slash producer.
What?
Yeah, it's called editing.
I know
We
you
do
can.
fun
We can
things.
do that.
Did you
I'll
get
edit,
the
I'll put it-
younger, more attractive John Lennon joke?
got
in there?
that already.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure I didn't have to
If
repeat
you
that.
if you get Rob on video at all, we'll just put a face, somebody else's face.
Please do.
Over
Taylor.
Rob.
No, we'll
Corey Taylor's Rob.
Hey,
I'm gonna explain
Mask.
that in a second.
Which
Okay,
mask?
cool.
So we're on the
Mask?
tour bus with Nonpoint, and we're of course out on tour for the celebration of the life of Vinnie Paul. Nonpoint on tour with Hellyeah. Rob just made a Corey Taylor joke. Here's the reference. Nonpoint has a new single called Fix This. Kicks ass, as do all Nonpoint songs. But when the song was trying to originally go for radio play, we didn't have the space to play it right away because Slipknot, Disturbed, like all these bands, right, released all these songs all at one time. So I text Rob and I said, I'm sorry, man, like, give me a couple weeks, and I'm like, you could, tell these bands to stop writing great songs. He goes, I'll text Corey Taylor right now and tell him to stop writing kick-ass music. Or something to that effect. I'm like, that's great, that's a perfect response.
Did you text him?
No.
Not at all.
Failing. Just failing on the job.
No, not at all.
No.
You're ruining our chances, Corey.
Yeah, well, we didn't want to ruin our chance for a Slipknot tour, so that's probably attaboy, Rob.
There you go. Let's go.
Writing good music, Taylor!
Taylor!
Is there,
And Taylor!
in all honesty, though, because y'all have been a band forever, and you've been out on the road with pretty much every rock band there is there anybody that you haven't toured with? that you like to?
Oh my God, yes.
Deftones.
Why is that
God,
not
I would
happening?
bust such a
I don't
nut
know,
for
man.
that.
I gotta call Chino and tell him
Yeah,
to
so
stop writing
text
good
Chino
music.
and tell him to
Stop writing good music. Chino! Cutter!
Elias!
Hans Gruber!
No! More attractive young John Lennon!
No, Deftones, Korn would be pretty rad.
I like to go back out with
Korn would
Glass
be
Jaw.
awesome.
With who?
Glassjaw.
We've toured with Glass.
Go back out
Oh,
with
yeah. Are they
Glass
still-
Jaw. I
is
wanna
Glass
go-
Jaw still-
Korn
They're
would be
touring
big.
right now. I would love to go out with them.
Korn.
I'd love to go
Yeah,
out with
this
them.
one would be great.
That would be honestly that
Korn would be
three
great.
bill.
Glassjaw,
Korn,
Nonpoint.
Deftones, Nonpoint.
Oh, Korn
I
and
think
Deftones.
would be-
It sounds great on paper.
It really does. It would
does
sound
sound-
really good
yeah.
and live in front of my face.
Yeah,
The
in your
speaker
face.
blowing my eardrums
In your
out,
face.
too.
Kicking you in the
Of
eardrums.
course,
Metallica wouldn't suck.
Of course,
I've
in the
heard they're
Midwest.
good live.
Of course, in the Midwest, Nonpoint would have to headline.
Absolutely.
No.
It's
We're gonna
funny you
edit
say.
that out.
No.
That's gonna be edited out.
Yeah, edit that out.
That's a true
Jonathan,
statement.
don't listen to Hans
Don't listen
Gruber.
to him.
Sorry, Jonathan. True statement.
Don't listen to
Here's another reference to that. Rock USA 2 weeks ago. Nonpoint's on the second stage. They're playing the 5:15 slot or whatever. It's the right before the
The
headliner slot.
7:15 slot, by the way, because it was
Because of
bad
rain.
storm.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I'm sorry about that. I was
See that bump? That was good.
I'm texting these guys in the morning while there's tornado warnings going off. Where are you? You okay? But so Nonpoint hits the stage, and there's 10 to 15,000 people. That's not an exaggeration. In fact, I'm probably underselling it. Of people at that stage, and fists are in the every single one of them. Fists are in the air to Nonpoint. I looked at a guy who works for a station in Madison, Wisconsin, WJJO, fantastic station, longtime Nonpoint supporter. And I looked at the guy from that station and I go, oh man, it's so cool Metallica came and played the second stage. Because that's what it looked like.
Yeah, it
And
is.
that's not an exaggeration. It was,
you know.
dude, Elias, you could have said nothing wrong on that stage, and you could have been Hans Gruber, and they would have it wouldn't have mattered. It's for whatever reason here, Wisconsin, Illinois corridor like that.
Like we've done Racine, Milwaukee, lacrosse, Wausau, Bay, Madison. It just every. I don't think I've.
Ringle?
Yeah,
even like nowhere like Ringle.
There hasn't been a show that's
those shows at Ringle are awesome, man.
Yeah.
So
I'm just
good.
gonna move. We're just gonna tour Wisconsin. That's it.
It's so interesting to me because
Every 6 months we're just gonna tour Wisconsin.
bebopped from different places and have seen you guys in everywhere that I've ever lived. And it's cool to see the crowds change from state to state. The overwhelming every
What
Wisconsin
other
show
state
I've
have you
been
seen?
in, Illinois and West Virginia and DC.
West Virginia.
We just went through all those
Morgantown.
places.
Yeah, we just played all those
I
places.
hosted-
that place we
I
played with
hosted a
Happy.
show.
So happy.
Yeah.
Katie's like a radio groupie for Nonpoint apparently.
I am. I have an old. Remember Schmidt Saloon? Do you remember
Schmidt
Schmidt Saloon in
Saloon, where is
Morgantown?
that? Oh,
West
yeah,
Virginia?
That was a
yeah.
party. Is that the party? Somebody
No,
have
that
a.
was,
Somebody.
that was actually a decent place. That was Beckley. No.
No, that was
Morgantown.
Beckley. Was that Schmidt Saloon?
Yeah.
Schmidt Saloon was
No,
Morgantown.
Schmitz is the one with like
The
the.
drop ceiling.
Yes.
No.
It was a nice little bar.
Yeah, it was a drop ceiling.
Yeah, it has
And-
a drop
and
ceiling.
where
Jared
Jared
said,
was
"This
like,
is somebody's house."
yeah,
I thought that was Munchie's 420.
Munchies.
That was Munchies.
Schmitz-
Yeah.
Schmitz
No,
was
the
one
Schmitz
sheet.
was
They
in-
bought the bus and it was like a giant
Is that
cliff and a
Morgantown?
toilet.
Is that Morgantown?
Yeah, it was like in a
Munchies
little
is in
box.
Beckley.
The stage was in
Yeah.
a box.
Munchies is in Beckley.
Yeah, that's somebody's house.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's someone's basement.
Schmidt Saloon
Was
was
in
in
Morgantown.
Morgantown.
We played there with.
Yes.
Did it twice.
I remember we played. It was packed. the
Couple
first
of
day.
it was
times,
great.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
That was my show.
What happened the second time then?
It wasn't my show. Not my fault.
Wow.
Not my,
Oh, yeah,
not my
Life
fault.
Leaks.
That's right.
Wow.
Wow.
What can I do?
She told you?
Not my station.
Not my circus,
show.
not my
West
monkeys.
Virginia's
Is
not
that?
Wisconsin.
This is true. This is why.
Shit,
I
not my problem.
not my problem.
Yes! Oh my God! I used to love
Not
that.
my show.
Fucking dresses.
Not my wig.
What do you guys
Yeah, no
attest
way.
that to though? Because Nonpoint's a Florida band originally. I know you guys have all spent a lot of time in Chicago area, but like Nonpoint is a Florida band. That's where you guys are from. What do you attest it to? I mean, what is it about these
I think-
particular,
I think-
300 miles?
Yeah, it's Midwest crowds are high energy and they like high energy bands, I think, and no matter who they are, and
That's fair.
they show the love and they support throughout, and they support from the very beginning. So
Yeah.
it's been a long road with us in Wisconsin. It's been a long marriage, it's been a good relationship. She's a good woman. She's a good woman.
Yeah, but then
She
on
really
this
is.
run, we played Myrtle Beach and just people were just as crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never expected Myrtle Beach. It's a tourist town, like,
Right.
Yeah.
And that was like a few days ago, which is just as crazy as it was in Wisconsin. It's insane.
Yeah.
One of our biggest merch nights ever.
Wow.
So, as well.
That's fantastic. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, Nonpoint, all these years, I have a 10th record, called X, obviously for good reason. 20 years, roughly?
22.
22 years.
Wow.
I was just going to say it was 97.
Y'all are
Um,
a whole drinking age.
You guys are above drinking age. Do you feel like it's still, maybe there was a little lull, but right now there feels like another rise in the Nonpoint?
I think with this record, there's been a resurgence.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
I think the quality of music, not to bag anything before, but this record in particular, and working with the producer we had, that I think everything just elevated musically.
Yeah.
Get out!
And
Everything-
Couldn't help it so hard.
No, everything elevated music. I think the sound of the album, the songs, the work, our work ethic with the producer.
I think social media too has helped.
Social media too. Has
Yeah,
helped.
getting eyes on the show has been a big help. People are seeing the crowds.
We were talking about Nonpoint on the air the other day, and out of curiosity, I went to Spotify and I look up streams. Now, Rob and I have had many private conversations about how much we love vinyl and records and metal and old thrash stuff and whatever, but I was curious. What's the most streaming Nonpoint song? And it's in the air tonight, and that's no surprise. But it was all from the last 2-3 records were all the bigger ones on that list besides Bullet with a Name.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was interesting.
I don't know. I think too, the new records have been exposed more to Spotify,
Right.
Then the like Statement, you can see the streams are not as big as.
Right.
But that's our biggest selling album.
Mhm.
You know,
Right,
so
physical
it's-
sales.
Yeah,
wise.
physical sales. But
That's also a time when physical sales were a thing that happened.
That's where I get really, in my little nerdy world of numbers, I'm so curious of what the numbers would look like had Nonpoint started or Spotify started or vice versa or whatever, to where those albums were available on streaming platforms early on, or if Spotify or streaming services didn't exist,
I
how
think-
those albums would continue to grow.
I think we'd be done streaming, and now you'd have a microchip in your head where you just blink through your catalog like this.
I
by
think
that
that's
time.
coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
I think they're
It's
in the
coming.
process of making it
Yeah.
happen.
Spotify, Brain.
And the era of sound
And
scan is
radio
gonna go
still
away,
will
too.
be an app that you have to download instead of something that's automatically loaded.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
of
USB behind
the
your
day after
ear.
Halloween this year, SoundScan is going to be no longer.
Really?
They're
didn't
not
even
going
know
to
that.
count sales anymore.
They don't even count sales.
Yes, and
Yeah,
SoundScan
the streaming is
is
interesting because it's 10 plays per song equals one equivalent to a sale.
1,500.
No, 1,500.
1,500
Yeah.
streams.
Right, is that how it works?
Yeah.
I thought it was
1,500
more.
plays of
It's
one
like
song
one
equals
sound
one
scan.
sale.
Okay.
Billion streams, you can go get yourself a shrimp cocktail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember seeing something, it was years ago, it was probably like 5 years ago, when Avicii had the #1 streamed song that year. I want to say it was like 2014 or something like that. And it was 40 million streams, and it was a check for like $4,000
Yeah.
or
Yep.
something like that for
Yeah.
40 million
Wow.
streams.
Yeah.
I was like, that's disgusting.
Wow.
It is.
That's some bullshit.
Spotify's a billion-dollar company.
Oh, yeah, their CEO
Well, it's not
makes
just
like
Spotify
30
though.
million.
It's Apple. It's Amazon. It's what do you get off YouTube? Like
Yeah.
Do you guys remember when Napster started? Because that's the beginning of all the streaming, and there was all like the lawsuits, and everybody was kind of targeting Lars in this like, what is he doing?
Lars
Why
was
is this
right.
happening?
Lars was
Right.
right.
He was right.
Right is
Hey,
great.
Do you guys
Napster
remember?
actually pays out the most,
Awesome.
as does Apple Music.
But do you guys remember what your thought process was at that time in the game when
You know
all
what?
the stuff
I
was
didn't
kind of
really
starting?
do any research. Obviously, Lars did the biggest research, and it
Right.
caused a huge uproar.
Mhm.
But I didn't really think about it until years later when I saw the sales decline huge. And I said,
Mhm.
well, I have that shirt, by the way. It says Lars was right.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was like Lars Stradamus.
Lars
As
Stradamus.
much shit that,
You're fine.
Oh, as
Fine.
much crap as that guy got, he was right the whole
Yeah.
time. He really
Well, it wasn't just him. There was a whole list of artists that had signed on to that. Lars became the spokesperson for it, but it was
Yeah.
It's
not only
because he was a
Metallica.
millionaire already and had
Right.
sold so many that
It was Dr. Dre. It was Bonnie Raitt. It was, a lot of legendary Hall of Fame artists that Hall of Fame artists that were all about it. Yeah, no, we have to take steps now. And music industry dragged its feet, a step behind, and here we are. I mean, that's what it feels like. Anyway.
Has it changed your process in releasing albums, booking tours, just the whole marketing?
Makes you have to book a lot more tours, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how we make our money now, you know?
Right.
Our merch and the touring, you know?
You got to think about it this way. Tool
Mm-hmm.
has never streamed their stuff.
They do.
As of today, they do.
It's coming
You
though.
want to know why?
Was it
Or
today?
tomorrow.
Want to know
tomorrow,
why?
yeah, yeah.
Friday.
Because
Yeah,
you
right.
can't chart without SoundScan anymore.
Mhm.
So they're gonna need to be
They
able
have
to
to.
chart
They just
to
released
be
an
able
EP.
to move product.
All of it's
Since-
coming on Friday.
And in
Yeah.
order for them
And
to
I'm not
chart,
too
you're
tired.
gonna
Oh
need
my God.
some sort of way to track it. So it's like almost like forcing their hand to
Mm.
do something. It's like eventually eventually you're gonna, as much as you love the sound of 8-track, it's time to fucking
Right.
wrap it up.
Even
you
Def
know?
Leppard a year ago released their first 3 or 4 albums
Mm-hmm.
on.
Well, they
on
originally had to
Apple Music.
re-record. They re-recorded Hysteria, or re-recorded some of their hits. That's what they did.
Yeah,
they
but right
re-recorded.
now their first 3 records had just been
Yep.
released, like with Rock of Ages. That was not on.
Right.
Just their later records, but their early ones were not on Spotify.
Right. That was a record label and publishing deal, though. That they didn't have the rights to
The
their
ownership.
publishing. They didn't have
Yep.
the ownership to
That's
their
why they had
songs.
to
and
re-record them.
so they re-recorded them for that Greatest Hits and Rock of Ages and whatever. And I think finally, whatever label they were on back in the day, finally released it or did something. I don't
You
remember
can do
exactly.
that. You can re-record everything.
You can.
After 7 years.
Mhm.
Oh, really? There's so many things.
Yeah,
many
we get into
things.
the legal stuff of this. It gets stupid, and people gloss over when you're talking about it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Cutter! Is that a good transition?
But all many
Cutter!
through all the changes in the music industry, Nonpoint's had their own as well. Obviously, you know, Rob and Elias, you guys are the original members of Nonpoint. You guys have come in and I mean, obviously it's been some time now, but how do you like feel? I mean, you've been a 4-piece, you've been a 5-piece, you've been a 4-piece, 5-piece again. Right now, I mean, you talked about the last couple of records and this one specifically in X, feeling so good the way you produced it and everything else. But as a lineup, as a band, as the brotherhood that is Nonpoint, how does it feel right now?
It feels great. I think this is the strongest lineup. I mean, I loved Andy and Kim when he was when they were in the band. I was a big fan of Nonpoint when back in the day. I used to go to Nonpoint shows, you know. But I think this is definitely the strongest.
I absolutely
strongest lineup. I would say,
especially
in my opinion.
Taken from all the like the money thing, whatever, whatever. Like we got a tour to do this, but I say it all the time. Like the hour or whatever on stage, like I do that for free. It's just fun, man. You're playing with your friends. You're playing like just like starting when I was 12. You know, like in my room, like all my friends are hanging out. I'm just like, but generally
as far
having
as the
fun.
lineup as me and Elias being, I mean, this is basically the 4th version of it. You know,
Nonpoint version 4.0.
I think live this is the strongest as far as.
I can't disagree with you, Rob. I've seen. This is not an exaggeration. I swear I've seen 100 live Nonpoint shows. I mean, just over the years, and I've seen every various lineup. But watching this unit as a band on stage, it just feels. I don't know, man. I go back to the outside thing a couple weeks ago. It just feels.
It's all
fucking good.
It comes down to the fact too that we get along.
Yeah,
that helps.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah,
and obviously, you know, you have your little issues, and everybody does, but not to the point where I don't want to be in a room with someone. You know, it's like I don't mind. I can hang out with anybody in this band and be fine.
Yeah, we literally
Before it was
hang
a little,
out.
before it was
we do all day.
a little bit more difficult.
and you got to remember too. Now I have 2 guitars.
Yeah.
Now we have 3 voices, sometimes 4. You know, there's so much more. There's so many more possibilities with our music.
More dynamics.
Pianos, strings, beats. You know, just the riffs alone. You know, some of the most monumental Nonpoint riffs have been written in the last 2 records. So, you know, I give, credit where credit's due. You know, the guys all are amazing players, and we have a great chemistry, and we chose everyone for that reason, and everyone is in it, for real. So, it shows on stage.
I'm glad you brought up the fact that obviously 2 guitars, and that adds another dynamic. Obviously, with Nonpoint original, I mean that's a 4-piece. So for you guys as songwriters, I mean you kind of just alluded to, but if you want to dig a little further, how much that really opens up different avenues of textures of songs instead of that'd be really cool if we just had another guitar player.
And him
but
and I
now we
talked
can
about
do
that
this
for
melody
years.
thing.
Yeah, we talked about it for years, and when we, when Andy stepped out initially, we had talked about it. We wanted it right away, but there was some resistance from Ken at the time. So when we got an opportunity to do it again, it was like we're doing it whole hog.
Well, nice. It's obviously working well for you guys. There's no question about that. This tour, and I know it just started last week. It's the celebration of Life Vinnie Paul. Rob, I know how much he meant to you, but what does it mean for you guys to be on this tour with Hellyeah? Specifically, what it's about, and remembering the legendary figure that is Vinnie Paul, who, if you met once, he was your brother for life.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That's
The first time I met him, man, he pulled me over to the grill and was like, "Hey, man, have some chicken. Have some chicken.
Kaytie got that experience a couple years ago in the grill.
So he was right there with me.
He taught us how to make jalapeno poppers on the grill. It was awesome.
Yeah, he taught us how to make his jalapeno poppers, and I make those for my family now.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
At home. They ask me, hey, will you make those Vinnie Paul poppers? They don't even know who Vinnie Paul is.
Right.
Vinnie Paul poppers.
But they say, will you make those Vinnie Paul poppers? I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
yes. Yes, I will.
I feel like every time I hear a story about Vinnie Paul from any musician, it always starts with, we were barbecuing, or he was grilling, or
It's always,
he did.
whatever.
He's
I'll
always
tell you,
grilling.
he showed up. We were on tour with Mudvayne,
Mhm.
and in this moment in Texas, he showed up in an RV with an entourage. He wasn't even on tour, and he cooked for everybody. He just out there started cooking. Just showed up and started cooking. Like, that's just the kind of guy
He wasn't even on tour.
He wasn't even on tour. He showed up in an RV with all his buddies and a little Dallas entourage, and and cooked for everybody.
The cowboy flag on the front.
This is a dude
for
he
the hell
was.
of it.
He's a good
And, he
dude.
gave us a lot of great advice.
He was very supportive of our band. It was a really amazing friendship with Vinny. You know, I mean, days before he passed, he had an event in Vegas. We were playing Vegas, and he came out to see us.
Yep. Yeah.
Even though he had the event after, he was like, I'm gonna run in there, catch the guys. He was standing up watching the band. He came with like 2 other people, but he just wanted to, you know, be there, and caught us, and you know, we got to say, "What's up?" You know, for a brief minute. He's like, "I gotta get to this event, but I just want to show love, man. I was in town," and I was like, "Man, it's
We had actually talked about touring
Yeah.
that day.
Oh wow.
And then 5 days later, he passed away.
Yeah.
Which sucks. But we are on tour.
So it's
That's
fitting.
what-
Well,
His
right.
mission came
He's
true.
here
I
in
think it's-
spirit, you know.
I think it's
Yeah.
fitting."
If you guys could each pick one thing that you learned from him, either from one-on-one interaction with him, or just watching him on stage, or seeing him in the business, or whatever, what would that one?
Well, I know Rashad answered
Yeah.
to the
Jalapeno
poppers.
Oh no, being cool to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not,
Humility.
like he could have.
Humility.
He's a you know, a popular guy. He could be a dick if he wanted to. You know, he could be that guy if he wanted to. But he was cool with everybody.
Yep.
I mean,
Everybody.
Pantera
He was
changed my
very
whole life.
gracious.
Like, I wouldn't even be here,
Yeah.
you know, without Pantera. You know? So it's weird, you know.
What I learned is that even at his age, he had the same passion for the music that he did when he first started.
And the same respect for the you know, he when he started Hellyeah, he said it all the time. He's like, hey, we got to start over just like we did, you know, when we started Pantera. There's no, you know, you come back in at the bottom, you work your way up to the top again.
Just like we do with Damage Plan.
Yeah.
We started at the bottom.
Yeah.
Small clubs and build it up.
Yeah.
But
It's
he
cool
just, he was just passionate. He loved what he loved being a musician. He loved playing. He loved rock and roll. He loved playing music.
It's funny you say that because, and we'll end in a second. But when Hellyeah got together, they did a promo tour just like Damage Plan did, and they came to the studio just like they did to a lot of radio stations and TV studios and really anybody that would have them. And the whole band sits across from the microphone and introduces everybody in the band that like they were the brand new kids on the block, the same way they did in Damage Plan. And it was such, and it was the same fire and passion, and it really was an incredible, he was a special guy. There's no question about that.
Definitely.
So,
It'll
this
make you
is-
like
He was very
reevaluate your own
hands-on
life
with his
after
business.
talking.
yeah, he was, very much
Very
so.
hands-on with his business. He was part of everything that had to do with Hellyeah. He was part of it.
Very much so. Nonpoint, you guys, congratulations. It's
Thank
been
you.
a long run. You're still here and you're still kicking ass, and that's not easy to do always. So congratulations on everything for real. And X really does sound pretty incredible. There's no question about that.
So
And the show's cool. And if anybody is watching this that's not from Wisconsin or Illinois and Nonpoint's playing in your area, go fucking see them, please.
Yeah.
Now.
Come on out.
Come on out. You ain't gonna get this kind of stuff watching Netflix.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna turn up the loud.
Netflix.
Groover!
You're on Netflix.
On that note, thanks guys.
Cutters Rockcast.
Don't forget to tune in.
Exactly.